All right, today we're going to talk about binding and winding, following up from the inside and outside conversation, but talking specifically about the Krieg, the war, one of the sections from Zornhau, where it's about binding and winding, and yet once people do this and there's pressure, a lot of interpretations actually have people leaving the bind to go to the other side and threaten. Why? There's a way to do this where you don't let go, and it turns into a fantastic wind, which has big implications for later. Next. All right, Jeff Tsai, Forte Swordplay. So a little while ago, we had a video on inside-outside binds. So if we remember, here's an inside-inside bind. Here's a outside-outside bind. And then this would be, he's on my, dude, pick a place. Okay, so you're here. And then if you stay here, right, if I do this, this is what I want. This is protecting me on my inside, and I'm on his outside. I'm behind his sword. I can get behind him, okay? So that's the kind of thing that I want to be setting up. What gets interesting, what gets more complicated than the basic inside-outside situation for hands low, point high, is when we do a transition from this to this. Why would we want to do that? So a great instance of that is actually if he cuts in with a wrath cut from his right, when I krump, this is a very typical situation that puts him on his inside against my outside. So this is not good for me. If I do krump in a very static way like this, what I want to do is actually do this and close this, right? When I close this down into Schrankhood, that the cross guard, from here, all of a sudden I've gone from on my outside now to my inside and against his outside. So that's a great transition that in one tempo switches the tactical advantage from him to me. So here's the beauty of the Krieg. So let's talk about in the Zornhau section, the very first master cut, the wrath cut. There's a section that talks about something called the Noble War, the Krieg. And it's about binding and winding. And so when this happens and I push here, the last thing you want to do is let go and just attack over here. If he comes around, there's nothing keeping me from just hitting him. Yeah, sure, he can hit me, but we're talking double hits, like we're talking about a double hitting situation. So we want to avoid that. There's no reason to do that. He can do something much smarter. So from here, when he pushes, so first of all, first target, like the war talks about 4 targets, here, then here, then here, then here, and watch how this geometry works. So from here, I'm gonna do, so first, from here, not only is he in a good place, that I have to start doing a krump, he can make it hard on me by actually winding up, and I have to push on his strong now, right? So I really have to commit. So I commit my krump, and as I do this, he now winds into just like the sort of like version below as the version from above, where he's got his strong against my weak, okay? Just like sort of ox against plow from above. That's what's going on here. Plow against ox, actually. So strong against weak. So here's his second target. I have no choice but to push. As I push, this drags across my belly, target number 3, right? So I'm going to push here to get out of the way. At some point, this is going to bring this. He can very easily just come straight up and get here, this 4th target. Basically, very typical shield position, except I'm not here the way that a normal shield is. I'm even worse off. I'm in a situation where I come up, where he's behind my sword on the outside, and he's on with my sword on his inside. Perfect, like, strategic, positioning for him. This whole wind, this whole war, this wind, right? So actually, and from here, it just begins again, right? So from here, back up just so we have room. So from here, I push again. Uh-oh. Boom. Yep. Yep. Boom. So this is what's going on, where we can actually keep contact and make that circular winding happen. So really wanted to try to just introduce that concept, that pattern, that winding And the really critical piece of like, how do you transition the hangers, right? So you went from this sort of lower hanger to a high hanger to threaten. I push, and then he actually transitions again to a low hanger to continue that threat. So high, low, high, okay? So, yeah, so hopefully that's good enough. I wonder if like you guys can see the angles. If not, we may do another, short where we can actually kind of show that. But yeah, just to want to introduce that idea, because that wind going from high to low back to high is gonna come back and is gonna be super valuable for some future things that we're gonna be talking about soon. Until next time.